Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. I want to give a strong shout out to the mighty Akim out there that is pushing his truth, being that sacrifice, battling the elements, dealing with all type of spirits throughout Babylon, rebuking as well as edifying, sacrificing time away from their families. I also want to give a shout out to the modest Aquath out there that's reverencing their husbands, supporting the brothers, as well as edifying their sisters, studying, keeping the home in order, being that stability to the nation. I also want to give a shout out to the brothers and sisters that may not be out there battling the elements, but they're getting built up in the spirit. They're sharing this truth by any platform that's available to them. I want to say to all of you, Shalom. Let me just say, I was gonna do another video, but the spirit hopped on me that I should mention something that's going on in Israel, and it really, you know, kind of weighing on me. But I know there's a lot of important work to do for all of our people, right? But it kind of just, when the Most High put something on you, you gotta, you gotta use discernment, and you know, spare not, cry aloud, right? So I want to talk a little bit about, and I'm not going to be too long, but I do want to talk about some of the things that's going on in Israel, and you know, regarding, just the back and forth bickering, amongst each other, brothers and sisters, right? And we're at such a pivotal time in prophecy that this is taken away from the work that needs to be done, right? And it seems that in Israel, with all the understanding that the Most High has given us, because He is, as I say, lights are going back, they're going on, they're being turned on in households where the neighborhoods, which is the Israelites, have been dark for some time now, but lights in each house is going on, and that's the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is being returned back to our people, right? And with these lights going on, that same spirit is ever so present in our people, which we have, the going against brother, the backbiting, the tail bearing. We got these things going on while Esau is plotting to kill us. That he's lining up to kill us. All of these nations are setting up to go after the true children of Israel, because they know that we are set to regain the kingdom, right? But yet we have Israel in the middle of controversy, battling it out with one another, and let me just say, I do not subscribe to any camp, but I love every camp. Let me just say that again. I do not subscribe to any camp, but I love every camp, because the camps are refuge for our people, right? They are safety for our people. They are edification for our people. All of the brothers go out on the highways and byways and battle these spirits in their own way, in spite of whatever their doctrine is. And we need all of these camps. We need all of these brothers, right? I support any brother, any Akim, any Aquath that's bringing forth the Most High's word, right? We know that the men are the ones that's out on the highways and byways, you know, battling, right? You know, telling, rebuking Esau, rebuking Babylon for what they have done to the Most High's children, and warning our people to repent and turn back to the Most High, right? But it seems in Israel that we don't know who our true enemy is, right? It seems we still have, we still lack the understanding of who to aim our missiles at, which is the word. It's video after video. It's, post after post, and this the time that we're taking to backbite or talk against another brother or camp is time wasted that could be bringing someone back to the Most High. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what we're supposed to be emulating. We spent many of years taking people away from the Most High, taking our brothers and sisters away from the Most High through whatever type of folly we was involved in, whatever type of wickedness we was involved in. But now that we have this true understanding, now that the Most High has placed this wisdom back on us, now that our the gift of knowledge have been put back into our bodies, we are using this time to backbite, to call out, to envy, to covet, to hate our brothers and sisters, to speak against our people, not speak against the ones that's had their knee on our neck until we suffocated, right? And we put it on display for the world to see, right? So I just want to bring out, we just need to know the difference. Let me just say this. We need to clarify the difference of who our enemy is, right? Because we have the enemy, which is our brother, right? And that brother which we can turn back, that we can make amends with, that we can recompense to, that we can reconcile, right? That's one enemy. We have the enemy that is also our brother, that is of us, but we cannot make amends for. The ones that will be rooted up. The brothers of the 2/3 that we can't save, right? And then we have the enemy, which is the other nation. And we need to be clear of who we need to, bring back to, or make effort to, right? And we need to make effort to, the ones we can save, and not no effort towards the ones we can't, right? Because we spend a lot of time backbiting, speaking against, being talebearers, being downright wicked to the ones that we can reconcile with, that we should reconcile with, that we should extend our hand to. But the ones that are the ones that are of the other nations, we not getting on. We not we not focusing on pulling our people that we can save away from them, away from those ways, right? And that's our job. That's our duty in keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Right? Doesn't it say that the angels celebrate when a sinner is brought back into the truth, right? Paraphrasing, right? So this is what we should be doing at this time, right? Let's go into a precept on that. And we're going to start at the book of Leviticus, chapter 19. Let's go to 19 and 17, right? Because we the one that we're speaking against is our brother, and we have to know the difference between, the enemy that is our brother versus the enemy that is not our brother, right? Or an enemy that is our brother, but the enemy that will never come back to the Most High, right? The ones that is that's been you know that is part of the wicked, right? So let's read this. This is Leviticus 19, and we'll start at 17. And it says, "Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him." Right? So our brother, right, which is our neighbor, right? Those are the brothers that we need to make recompense with. Those are the brothers that we need to, you know, whatever disagreement, whatever differences we have, we need to try to get them back into the fold, right? As best as we can. As much as the Most High put it on us, our ability to do so, right? Right? And our brother, which is our neighbor, right? Doesn't it say, love thy neighbor as thyself, right? And a lot of our people don't know that our brother is our neighbor. They believe that our neighbor is the person that's living next door to us, of any other nation, right? But our neighbor is our brother, right? Right? And let's prove that. If we go down a little bit, let's go to 18, right? If we read 18, it says, "Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord." Right? So it's telling you right there that the children of thy people is thy neighbor, which is also thy brother, right? Not the other nations, right? And if you go up to 16, right? And you read 16, it reads, "Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am the Lord." So there you go, right? Thy neighbor is thy brother, right? And you must not hate your brother, right? Right? So we're basically proving of who thy brother is. We're not supposed to have hate um, against your brother, right? So let's get the part where let's show that your enemy is also your brother, right? Because everyone knows the chapter where it says love thy enemy, right? But it seems in Israel we don't know who our enemy is when it relates to our brother versus the enemy which is not our brother, other nations, right? Because you quick to jump out, when we go to other nations, they quick to say, "Love thy enemy," right? That's the thing they always pull out. But we need to know the difference, right? You got to have, the understanding of which enemy is your brother, right? The one that you can save, the one that you should recompense with, versus the one that will be uprooted, right? The one that you can't recompense, right? And then the other nations, the one that will be destroyed, right? So let's go to um the book of Matthew real quick. Let's bring out that precept. And we're going to go to chapter 5 and verse 44. Let's start there. Right? And it reads, this is Matthew 5 and verse 44. And it says, "But I say unto you, love your enemies." Let me get that off. Bear with me. "But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you." Right? And do you believe that he's talking to enemies, enemies regarding those that are not, that are other nations? That's Yahushua talking about your brother, those that come against you, those that you are indifference with, those that are those that are talking about you, those that are backbiting on you, right? And let's prove that. Let's get another precept on that. Because we have this misconception of who our enemy is. And one of the enemies that our brother, we are supposed to, we are supposed to try to win them over. We are supposed to try to recompense them, right? So let's go to the book of Proverbs. And let's go to 25 and 21, right? Because we're trying to recompense this brother. This brother that is our enemy, we are trying to win them over. We're trying to bring them back into the fold. We're not trying to go as they are, right? So this is Proverbs 25 and 21. And it reads, "If thy enemy be hungry, give him bread to eat. And if he be thirsty, give him water to drink." Right? Verse 22. "For thou shalt heap coals of fire upon his head, and the Lord shall reward thee." Right? And heaping coals on the head is basically like, everything that you're doing, you're trying to, win him over. You kill him with kindness, right? You don't, you do everything you can, and prayerfully he will turn back, right? Verse 23. "The north wind driveth away rain, so doth an angry countenance a backbiting tongue." Right? So that's your brother, which is your enemy, but also you are trying to win him over by righteousness. Kill him with kindness. You're not trying to do the same to him. You're showing him that you won't turn in that way, and maybe that will bring him back into the fold. Well, I done did everything I can to this brother, man. I done threw everything I can at him, and look, he still remained the same. And maybe he will turn back, and maybe he won't. It's all of what the Most High, has for that brother, right? The Most High can put the Spirit on him to turn in the other direction, right? Right? Some can and some can't, right? What happened with Saul and David, right? Let's get a precept on that. Let's prove that, right? Let's go to the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel, and let's go to chapter the book of 1 Samuel 18. Let's go to 18 and 29, right? Because you may have that brother that, you can't turn him back, right? No matter what you do, and that's all of the Most High, right? This is the this is book of 1 Samuel, chapter 18 and verse 29. And it reads, And Saul was yet, excuse me, and Saul was yet the more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually, right? Because Saul waxed worse over the time, right? Because the Most High had put a spirit on Saul to be more wicked towards David, to prove who David was. And what did David do? David continued not to backbite Saul, not to talk against Saul. I mean, he had the advantage over Saul several times where he could have killed Saul, and he didn't. And what did he do to the man that killed Saul? Right? Didn't he slay the man for touching the Most High's anointed? Right? And that's how we're supposed to be with our brothers. We're not supposed to go against our brothers, right? That's the ideal of a man that is killing his brother with kindness, right? I'm not telling anyone to be no fool, but talking against your brother, the Most High is looking at that, right? So we have to know the difference. We have to know the difference between the brother which is your enemy, right? The brother which is your enemy that you can redeem or recompense or make amends with, versus the one that you can't make amends with, right? The ones that will be destroyed, the ones that is part of the 2/3, the ones that are rooted up, right? Because there are those that you can't make amends with. That it's nothing that you can do to make right in their eyesight. It's nothing that you could do in their eyesight is right. They just naturally hate you, and the Most High put that spirit on them. They have that Saul spirit, right? And let's go back to the book of Matthew, and let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 13, and let's start at 24. Let's start at 24 because we're still talking about the enemy, which is thy brother, right? But we're talking about the one that you can't recompense. This is the one that you can't make amends with, right? And this is the book of Matthew, chapter 13, and we can start at 24. And it reads, another parable put forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field, right? Verse 25, but while the man slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way, right? So it's speaking about his the enemy, all right? This is the wicked, right? This is Satan, right? This is the ones that can't be recompensed. This is the wicked Israelites. This is your wicked brother that you nothing, no matter what you can do, he will never be in your corner. He's going to continue to wax coal against you. He's going to continue to pursue you. He's going to continue to hate you and whatever you do, right? Let's jump down to 29. It says, but he said, nay. Well, let me go to 28, right? Let me go to 28. It says, he said unto them, an enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? Verse 29. But he said, nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them, right? So this is speaking on those Israelites that will be rooted out. Those ones that we can't recompense, right? Because there is Israelites that are among us that they will be part of the 2/3. They will have to be reborn in the kingdom, right? It's nothing that you can do in their eyesight that is righteous, according to them, right? And let's prove that, right? Because it is these Israelites that's going to be rooted out. These enemies of ours, that is our brothers, that's going to be the ones that that's out there, that's they're in the truth but not really. They got the same wicked ways that they had before the truth. And anything they constantly making these videos about you, talking about your family, uh creating fake pages, spending their whole time to discuss you and what you're doing. These are those, right? But let's prove that with a precept, right? Let's go to Matthew. Let's go over to Matthew 15 real quick. Matthew 15 and 13, right? And this is the book of Matthew, chapter 15, and verse 13. And it said, "But he answered," this is Yahushua, "but he answered and said, Every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall be rooted up." Right? So these are those part of the 2/3. They have been placed here among the tares. We are all together, right? But they will be rooted out. And these are the ones you can't recompense, right? These are those enemies that differ from the first, the ones that you cannot bring back, right? Okay, so let's go back to Matthew 13, right? And we're going to go down to 38, right? And this is Matthew 13 and chapter 13 and verse 38. And it reads, "The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one," right? Right? Satan, right? Verse 39, "The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels," right? So hey, there you have it, right? So that's telling you that there is some that you can bring back. There are enemies among us that we should recompense, to care for, right? But there's some enemies that are among us that look like us, but they can't be recompensed, right? They cannot be recompensed. And when it's harvest time, the ones that is rooted out, they are going to be they are of those, right? It doesn't matter if they wear fringes. It doesn't matter if they know how to bust out precepts, right? It doesn't matter if they yell Shabbat Shalom to you or Shabbat Shalom to you, right? See? And then we have the enemies, which is the other nations, right? And the way you tell a difference is you got to have the understanding, right? Doesn't it say precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, right? So you can go through the book and do different chapters and tell who is the enemies, which is your brothers, who is the enemies, which is also your brothers, but the ones that will be rooted out, and who is the enemies, which is the other nations, right? Let's go to the book of Joshua real quick. And we're going to go to chapter 7, and we're going to start at verse 8, right? And this is the book of Joshua, chapter 7, and verse 8. And it says, "O Lord, what shall I say when Israel turneth their backs before their enemies?" Right? Verse 9, it says, "For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land shall hear of it, and shall environ and environ us round, and cut off our name from the earth. And what wilt thou do unto thy great name? Right? So, you know, Joshua is speaking, he's speaking to the Lord, and he's talking about Israel being wicked before their enemies, turning their back on the Most High, right? He's you know he's speaking to the Lord, and asking the Lord's guidance. He's talking to the Most High at this point, and Israel is in this time they're being wicked, right? They're not following what the Most High has said, right? So let's read on. It says, and the Lord said unto Joshua, get thee up, wherefore liest thou thus upon thy face, right? Telling Joshua, be a man, stand firm, right? Verse 11, Israel has sinned, and they also transgressed my covenant, which I commanded them, for they have even taken of the accursed thing that have also stolen and disassembled also, and they have put it even among their own stuff, right? It says, therefore the children of Israel could not stand before their enemies, right? These are the other nations, but turned their backs before their enemies, because they were accursed. Neither will I be with you any more, except ye destroy the curse from among you, right? These are those wicked Israelites. These are those wicked brothers. These are those that can't be recompensed, right? Verse 13, up, sanctify the people, and say, sanctify yourselves against tomorrow. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh of Israel, there is an accursed thing in your midst of thee, O Israel. Thou canst not stand before thy enemies until ye take away the accursed thing from among you. Right? And these was the things that they was doing. They was defiling, and they was in the midst of Israel at this time, right? So and the Most High say He will not be with you until you remove these things, and Israel could not stand before their enemies, right? Which was the other nations, right? Let's prove this also. Let's go to another precept, right, to prove who our enemies were, which is the other nations. Let's go to the book of Nahum, right? And we're gonna go to Nahum 1 and 2, right? And it right. And this is the book of Nahum, chapter 1 and verse 2. And it says, Yahweh is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revengeth and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies, right? His enemies, meaning the wicked, right? The wicked, Satan, the other nations, right? Right? Those that also are going against his law, statutes, and commandments, right? Those are the enemies, right? The wicked Israelites, those that can't be recompensed, right? But let's go to another precept and prove the other nations is also the enemies, right? The enemies that's not your brother. Let's go to the book of Psalms, and let's go to Psalms 110 and 1, right? And this is the book of Psalms, chapter 110 and verse 1. And it reads, "The Lord said unto my Lord, Sit thou at my right hand until I make thy enemies thy footstool." Right? Verse 2. "The Lord shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thy enemies." Right? So the Lord is clear, is stating right there clearly, okay? Thy enemies shall be our footstool, right? The ones that have done wicked to the children of Israel shall be thy footstool, right? Let's go to Psalms 139, right? And I'm gonna end it here, right? Stay in the book of Psalms, and we're gonna go to 139. And we're gonna go to 139 and 22, right? And it reads, this is Psalms 139 and 22. It says, "I hate them with a perfect hatred. I count them my enemies." Right? So that's David saying he hate his enemies, which is those that are not Israel, with a perfect hatred. He count them his enemies, right? Right? And that's how you gotta hate the ones that are not following the Most High, right? Now you don't hate your brother if you feel you can recompense, but if you see someone going against the Most High continuously, right? The Most High will put that spirit on you, right? If He has the spirit on you to do righteousness, you will be enemies of anyone that is against the Most High, right? But your brother, which is that you see is following of the Most High, you are not to hate your brother, which he can also be an enemy to you. You can he can be you know one of your biggest adversaries, right? And at one point in time, we was all adversaries. We was all enemies of one another in some way in this life. If you living in Babylon, we was all adverse to each other, right? And let's get one last precept before we go to prove that. And let's go to the book of Romans. And let's go to chapter 5 and verse 10. Right? And this is the book of Romans, chapter 5 and verse 10. And it reads, "For if when we were enemies, we were reconciled by Yahweh by the death of his son, much more being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life." Right? So at one time we was all enemies, right? But we was reconciled. We was brought back into this truth, right? We was given this understanding, right? And what should we be doing with it? We shouldn't be talking against our brothers. We should be pointed at the true enemy, which is the wicked one, right? The one that has his knee on our necks, right? The ones that still persecuting us, right? The one that the only way we getting out of here is Yahweh Shah destroying them, right? So if you can spend your time more constructively, you know, building up your brothers, exalting your brothers daily, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing. Sisters, be positive to your sisters. Be that influence on them, right? We are all to follow in the example of the Hamashiach. But we have our true enemies using this against us, right? Magnifying all of the backbite, sharing videos amongst each other that we make for against our brother and sister. There's no other reason we should even be on these social media platforms other than sharing the word of the Lord and trying to bring Israelites back into the fold. Continue to pray, continue to fast, continue to study, to show thyself approved. We only got a short time left. Why spend it doing anything else? So I hope this was edifying for you. I pray that the Most High blesses your household. I'm going to say Kwam Yashala and Shalom.